It's called Oli Fostering Human Connections. So it's specifically designed to connect strangers in public spaces. It's a musical installation as you see it. It's also mainly designed for people who don't know to play a musical instrument. It's mainly designed to like encourage play.
Because you mentioned it was for connecting strangers, like where did you envision this to be? Like what context would you see this?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. I started this in Ireland. I did my master's there. So this was my research project on how to connect strangers in public spaces, like mainly in transportation hubs where people, wait for like 20-30 minutes to get their bus or train or whatever. And, they're always on their phones. They never talk to the person next to them. So this was like an experiment on how to reduce that and encourage them to, look at one another and have a conversation with them, or even just say hi and smile at them. So I did like a bunch of iterations and I tried like different things, and this one was the final one that worked. Yeah.
And what's like the motivation behind like making the installation and that theme of connecting strangers? Like what made you want to pursue something that was like passionate?
Very personal question actually. I moved to Ireland a year back and I had no connections there, no friends, no family. Often I felt a lot lonely. So I used to go to these parks and there will be like a lot of old people who will be very interested to talk, like engage with anyone who comes close to them. But then there will be other adults who will not be like even saying hi or like smile at each other. So then I was wondering, what happens to people like me who move abroad, have not a lot of people around them? How do they connect with people freely? So it started from that point, like how to reduce the friction among strangers to just smile at one another. So that's how it started. Yeah. So originally this was put in a place where people usually come as a singular person. Here they come in groups, so they are playing with their own groups. But if you kind of move it to a place where people commute to their work, or like their everyday activity where they tend to travel alone, in that space I've seen this work connecting them with the other people around them. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This project is called Loom to Bloom, and it's designed by Gensler, and together with Creo, a design build firm, and Janelle Abbott, our zero waste fashion designer.
Hello.
The installation is playing on the idea of sustainability in architecture, and we want to get inspired by different types of creative outlets and what they think about sustainability. And so the idea is that the scaffolding pavilion will be created over the weekend together with the community in a weaving project.
Yeah, so we went to the Center for Wooden Boats and they gave us a bunch of old nautical rope that we've used to string up looms around the pavilion. And then we've got all kinds of clothes that we've gathered from free boxes or leftovers from clothing swaps. And so folks can come and cut the clothes into strips and then use those strips to weave onto the looms to create these large scale tapestries.
We're donating the one half of the pavilion to the Beacon Food Forest, which is a nonprofit in Beacon Hill, and they will use the pavilion as a shelter for the gardeners, and then the pieces that are now the loom, they will become lattices for growing plants like tomatoes and sunflowers, etc.
Lofty Lines, so laundry powered by nature, and Mahlum Architects, we're the firm, along with Aldrich Construction and Coughlin Porter Lundgren put this together.
Cool. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the installation?
Yeah, so sustainability is a big part of the lever of our design approach. So we knew that in answering what if, that sustainability was going to be a huge factor in what we wanted to convey. And so with that, we were looking at what is something that everyone can relate to and approaches every single week, which would be laundry, right? And it's just such a simple way to use less energy, right? Because a dryer does deteriorate clothes and uses a lot of energy. And just the simplicity of hanging up clothes prolongs the life of clothing and is just a more sustainable option. And also does just kind of have this romanticism, sort of a nostalgic feel to it as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And how did you guys come up with the idea of this big laundry, sort of like this line exhibition for your installation?
Yeah, and we had quite a few different directions too of just, how can we, community was a word that kept coming up in the planning of this. And one of the architects on the team had this idea of bringing people together and doing laundry. And I've had so many people approach me while I've been here at our pavilion, saying where they're from or where they grew up. It was like a neighborhood thing. People would do all their laundry together. So it was just really cool to kind of see our ideas kind of come to fruition in that way. And just what people's reactions and takeaways were.
That's super cool. And then you kind of mentioned this already, but can you tell me more about how this connects to like the what if theme of the festival?
Yeah, I know that. I guess our statement at the core of it is, what if we approached laundry from a more sustainable angle, or what small actions can we take in our day-to-day life to be a little more aware of the amount of energy that we're using and have a smaller carbon footprint.
This installation was born out of the architect firm that I work with. Does a lot of work in Rainier Valley, Beacon Hill, with low-income, underserved, and under-resourced communities, mostly for affordable housing and community spaces like parks and plazas, affordable housing, childcare, community facilities. And we noticed around our projects along the light rail, there are lots ranging from empty lots covered in gravel all the way to 55,000 square foot buildings that are deemed no longer necessary by the city of Seattle. And so we're asking folks to imagine what they could build to envision a more vibrant, equitable city. If it was up to them, what if you could build, what would you build? Which is awesome because the core of the work at Environmental Works is to ask the community, empower the people to say what works best for you, what's going to make your home a successful one, what makes your neighborhood a place that you love and want to live in. And those that kind of data that you can get from community really helps them to empower projects that will end up supporting and serving them. So.
And are there any proposals that you've seen so far, or like common themes that you've seen people suggesting?
Oh yeah, parks, plazas, higher density, sustainable growth, affordable housing. I mean, this is what everyone really wants, right? That's what we want to see, a city that's like welcoming for everyone and vibrant for a lot of uses, not just one. So yeah, if you look up the parks, plazas, all the way to just illustrated happy faces, yeah, we've seen it all. Yeah, there are no bad ideas.
And then you mentioned this briefly, but our theme this year is like what if. So how does this installation kind of answer that question?
Absolutely. I mean, I really was hoping, the firm was really hoping that people would look at these spaces and go, like, what if this worked for the people instead of just sitting empty? Like, what if you could design something that could make your neighborhood and the community proud to be where you live? So that was definitely a central idea, is let people imagination and get creative. Like, what if this city was for everyone?
Good job, Sequoia. Oh, nice. Got two of them on there. Nice.
Yeah, so this is between Baleen, and I'm Colton Reby, working with Olson Kundig.
And can you tell me a little bit about the installation?
Yeah, so the what if for this installation is what if you were swallowed by a whale? And so the idea is, you're going in and it's like you're being swallowed by a whale. The rope is repurposed from the fishing industry, so that's kind of a sustainable way to utilize a lot of kind of the oceanic kind of concept that you're going with. So you're not only being swallowed by a whale, but has kind of the whale theme of like repurposing from the ocean kind of situation.
And I noticed a lot of these artifacts around the installation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so these are just like looking at kind of the fishing industry, particularly, and kind of the plastics and kind of pollution that's happens in the oceans when it comes to those kind of things. Yeah.
My name is Brennan Q, and I'm with EHDD Architecture. We have offices in San Francisco and Seattle. Our installation for the Seattle Design Festival is the Epic Raceway, and the Epic Raceway is based off of our online open source software called Epic. If you go to ehdd.epic.com, you can plug in the parameters of your building or your development and figure out what are the opportunities I have to lower my carbon impact of my project. And the concept behind Epic is that it stands for Early Phase Integrated Carbon. And the idea is that early in the design process, you have the most ability to impact the carbon offsets of your project. So we've designed this ramp with a little bit of control at the top to say, if you make the right decision, you can get down to 0 carbon at the bottom and make the biggest impact with the loudest bell. Yeah. Whereas Epic is a way to assess the project before it's really even started. So it's really good for developers and architects and owners before they get involved in the project at all to say, what are my opportunities to lower the carbon impact of my building? So the installation is a ball drop game, and you can play as owner, architect, or contractor. And each of those roles has a little bit of influence at the beginning of the design phase. So from the start, as a player, you're able to control which way the ball drops. And then there's a whole bunch of obstacles, as we find in the design process. There's obstacles all along the way. But the idea is that early, you can make the right decision and avoid a lot of those obstacles and get a bigger impact at the end.
I'm Evan Fleming. I'm an architect at Methuen.
Awesome, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Could you tell us a little bit about your display here?
Yeah, so this is called Sound in Place. We collaborated Methuen with sound engineers at Arup and with a build partner with Lee Crutcher Lewis. And we kind of conceived of this project as creating a vessel that you could occupy and walk through, kind of a soundscape element that would be able to trigger feelings of the past, the present, and the future. And so we brought together certain sound designs all mapped to different speakers, sounds from kind of pre-industrial sounds of just running water to more industrial, and kind of wanted to overlap those. Within that kind of vessel thought, the vessel concept, we created this surface of all donated acoustical wall panels from FSORB. So they're all offcuts from previous projects. Having this kind of acoustical attenuating surface created kind of a quieter space within this ambient space where you could really just enjoy the soundscape. People have been very positive walking through. It seems, I love watching kids playing with all the hanging kind of wind chime pieces, and we didn't actually expect it to be such a popular aspect of it. And it was a lot of work to put it up, but it's probably one of the best experiences of the summer.
My name is Jeff Piper. I'm with Architects Without Borders Seattle, and we're here partnered with Wanawari. Wanawari is a arts organization headquartered in the central area of Seattle, focused on Black arts, Black homeownership, and Architects Without Borders Seattle is a nonprofit group of architects who work on projects both here and abroad to provide much needed services to underserved communities.
Tell me more about what your display is and your installation is here, please.
So this is kind of a follow-up of our last year's exhibit. And so this year, partnering with Wanawari to shine a light on the experience of homelessness. So Wanawari, Yerim Sek, did a series of interviews with 3 of the people who are kind of shown inside here, talking about their experiences and trying to kind of see what the real personal experience of being homeless meant. And so the tiny home is kind of the venue to play their stories.
What was the inspiration for your display as a follow-up from last year?
So last year was a lot of talking about the history of redlining in the Central District. And so thinking about what we were going to do this year, Yerim and Wanawari mentioned, let's kind of talk about homelessness and let's get a light on that, as it's something we see, but there's also what you might call invisible homelessness, which is what one of the participants talks about here. So it seems a natural progression to move from talking about kind of that redlining, which has pushed people into homelessness over the course of lack of generational wealth, and kind of move on up and talk about that here.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Josephina Ruval. I'm a second year architecture student at Cal Poly.
Could you explain a little bit more about your booth today?
Yeah, of course. I came up with this idea because of my final architecture project. And when I read the what if prompt, it like resonated with the project. Just like the whole idea of storytelling. And I really wanted people to be able to interact with the books like here on site. We came up with the idea of what if people could also take the books that are here to make it like even more interactive, to give back to the community. So we gathered up a bunch of books. We had 400 in total, but I don't know how many are left now.
Could you explain a little bit more about the process of design and construction to get where we are today?
Of course. So I had built for my school project, I had a bunch of modules. And this is like one of the modules, I had to add some like benches and there's a table on the other side so that people could interact with it more. And then when I had the whole idea set, I did a bunch of like drawings and I gathered up a group of my friends here in Seattle so we could all build it. Seeing like everyone interact with it, it just makes every one of us so happy, like seeing it all put together.
My name is Aparna. I'm with Perkins&Will.
And could you tell me a little bit more about your beautiful display?
Installation is called Komorebi. It's a Japanese word for sunlight filtering through leaves. So that's what we try to achieve over here. We are looking at leaves at different seasons. So it's light basically filtering through that.
What was the process of creating the display?
So we started looking at materials that we could recycle and or reuse. So our partner GLY, they had these plexiglasses which were used during COVID times as partition. And we were like, okay, let's do something with that. And that's what we did. So we started like applying these films onto these plexi panels. And there you go.
What are some of your goals that you hope people learn or experience today?
So we are looking at how people would be interacting and with this space in general, and then we want them to have like a really good time, like visualize different colors and then have like a good environment and good feel about the space.
My name is Alec Guthrie. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you as well. Could you tell us more about your exhibition today?
Yeah, this piece is called Social Perspectives. The idea is to encourage what using a third space might look like. We have a wonderful park here today. It's not always filled with such wonderful art, and there's lots of ways that we could keep using this park, whether that's the examples you see here, such as reading a book, whether that's walking a dog, going on, a family trip, or, buying food from a nearby vendor. There's lots of fantastic ways to enjoy our third spaces. And this piece is both a gentle and not so subtle nudge at understanding how that could be you. You spin it around, you hang out with your friends, you take a picture with your face in the hole.
Could you give us your definition, in your opinion, of what you define as a third space?
I think a third space, there's a lot of definitions for that, but when I think of it, it's a space where you're spending time with people that's not necessarily your home or career space. And that opens up opportunity for creativity or whatever it needs to be. It could be a calm space like reading a book. It could be a social space. It could be, whatever it is. Whatever it is that you want that space to be is a third space.
Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what your display is today?
Yeah, I'm Ray. And this is Tianye. We're part of DXARTS Collective. It's a student artist group from DXART department at UW.
I'm Gwen, and I work in the Molecular Information Systems Lab at the University of Washington, and we collaborated to make this installation, Algae Arcology.
Algae Arcology?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean?
So for the word arcology, basically we combine architecture and biology together because it's kind of like a intersection between biology, architecture, and urban design for this project. So to fit the topic, what if this year we're trying to reimagine our whole city life, like trying to rethink our relationship between urban life and sustainability. We're trying to think, okay, what if our city is not what we have right now? What if our city is dominated by algae? And algae is also something like we overlooked for a long time. And what if our citizens are not human beings? What if they are shrimps and fish? And this is That's our like imagination of our cityscape.
What did you build this city out of?
These structures are made of PLA, which we 3D printed, and we made the designs for the structures themselves using this algorithm that's found in nature all the time called reaction diffusion. Spots and stripes that come up on animals are because of this algorithm. As they go up, it shows the history of that. Beads of hydrogel that are storing algae that help fix carbon dioxide in the tanks and release oxygen like plants do, and they photosynthesize. And they also have this piece of DNA inside them, which is an encoding of an Octavia Butler quote from the book Parable of the Sower that says, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change." It inspired us a lot for this piece too.
Hi, I see that your booth is called What If Mermaids Do Exist? And you look like a living mermaid today. I love your sea creatures on your visor. Can you tell me more about that question and the answers?
Well, you know, we are here with the Seattle fireboat Duwamish. It's a 1909 retired fireboat that used to put out fires in Seattle on the waterfront. It's parked down in the historic Schiff's Wharf just around the corner from Mohi. And so we just like to participate in the festival every year to let people know about the fireboat and be involved with the community.
And it looks like you have a lot of cool interactive games to play here.
Yes, the kids can fish or do a penny toss or put some balls into a little container for a prize or draw a mermaid or a sea creature.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, would you mind tell us your name and name of the installation?
I'm Rachael Keith, and this is the Big Orange Whale and Whale Box installation that focuses on polypropylene prescription bottle recycling.
Can you also introduce us, like what is the design process and concept behind it?
The concept was born out of a need to have a place to put empty prescription bottles. And when you get prescription bottles, every month you get, maybe one or two or multiple, depending on your household. You've got a lot of prescription bottles and they actually can't be recycled in your normal recycling stream. So then the question became, where do I put these? What do I do with them? And I felt so bad throwing them away. I was like, how is this not able to be reused somehow? Polypropylene is one of the higher end plastics that is available to be reused many times. It's a healthier plastic and it can be reused many times, but it isn't because it's not in a single source recycling stream. So that's what we propose to create with the Big Orange Whale is a public site art installation. It'll be 3 shipping containers long, somewhere in Seattle in a few years eventually when we get grants and funding, but we aim to make a single source recycling center. And then the whale box will be distributed throughout communities and neighborhoods. So the art installation is a big public exhibition recycling center where all of the whale box pills get deposited. And then people like Adidas make these cool shoes that I bought that I didn't know were made out of polypropylene. So there are a lot of uses for polypropylene to be recycled into furniture, life-saving devices, shoes, clothing. It can be made into many different things. Since 2015, only 1% of polypropylene is being recycled. So there really needs to be a single source stream for just polypropylene, because if you put it in your regular recycling, which I was doing for a long time thinking it's plastic, and they just get filtered out. It just felt terrible. I'm like, something's got to change,
Is it all the components on the back made out of this material too?
No, not everything is made out of polypropylene, but it is all sustainably resourced and will be reused and recycled again and again. Yeah, like we're going to take this nice ripstop nylon here and we're going to make bags that you can see hanging off of the little reader board sign over there. And then those are what people can put their recycle containers in.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your exhibit today?
Yeah, so we're postcards to third places. I'm here with Framework Cultural Planning. We're an urban design and planning firm in Capitol Hill. Today we're having people write postcards to their favorite third places around Seattle, and just also having some dialogue about, what are spaces that are important to our community, what makes those spaces special, and kind of sharing appreciation with those spaces. We're gonna actually send these postcards to each of the places that people mentioned.
Do you have your favorite third space?
Yeah, so I wrote my postcard actually about the T-Dock at Madrona Beach Park. It's like somewhere I go year round with friends. I have so many fond memories there. We have like a small community of like women and queer people who go plunging there year round, and it's a really special experience and community to be a part of.
Who am I speaking with today?
My name's Steve Bowman.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your display here today?
Yeah, so I'm with SCB Architects, and we answered the prompt, what if, with this contribution that was, what if everybody had a chance to define their own window on the world? And so we asked participants as they came by to draw their window or what they see on the world or what they'd like to see, and to contribute to the facade of the project, I guess. And we thought it created this really great like composition and richness and comparison to more static like plain facades that we see. And what if down the road everybody gets to like pick and choose their window in the building?
Could you tell us a little bit more about some of the things you've seen people include in their facade today?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have like a message of hope and joy and looking for like a really bright future. And I thought that was really fun to see, like the optimism in everything that came out.
My name is Sam Castro. I'm with Weber Thompson Architects, but we partnered with Timber Lab and Swinnerton as well this year on the fabrication of this kind of reclaimed instrument. So we've got reclaimed mass timber elements here that produce the frame for the instrument. And then on top of that, there are a number of different interactive pieces for experiencing the piece kind of physically. We've got rain sticks here in orange, and then kind of a xylophone option here, and then some percussive elements over here on the boxes. And it's been really popular with the kids coming by, playing music, but also these kind of double as a little bit of a agility test. When you swing them over, they're gonna come back at you. So.
Could you talk a little bit more about the construction of it and where some of the materials are from, or what was your inspiration for the shape and design of the installation today?
Yeah, so I'm speaking on behalf of the team. I know that this year there was a lot of attention to what happens to the materials after the exhibit. So the major elements of this, the mass timber here, are cut-offs from projects that were able to be salvaged for the kind of the frame of the piece. And then I know that there was thought about the materials that we're using, where are they coming from, but also where are they going to. Maybe there's some hope that the piece would go on to be reused. Hopefully it has a longer life than just the festival.
I am here with one of our amazing design teams. Can you please tell me a little bit more about who you are and what you're presenting today?
We are from Malachur's High School of Chilla Robotics and as well with Scapa Landscaping to make this like nice cooling system. How it works basically is a water pump pumps it in with this evaporation fabric. The hot air could come and just sucks in all of it and just produce cold air.
That is so cool. And it really feels really cool out here, even though it's a sunny day.
The robotics team did all the modeling for all these pieces, and then we just implemented all their modeling. And the highest level concept was to take some of the new technology, and because the 3D printing allows you to have a space in the middle and not be monolithic, we added a little bit of the mechanical system, passive, the concept of evaporative cooling into that, and they fabricated it all.
You were saying that this way you can implement this in any kind of space. It doesn't have to be a square or rectangular space.
Right.
And you were also mentioning earlier some different weather and climate that you could utilize a structure like this. In the winter, it could be used in a different way.
It could be used like a fireplace. Right now during the summer, you could use for like a cooling system with all the 3D printed piece, like CNC machine we use. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Moore. I'm with Eldorado Architects. Could you tell us more about your display today? Yeah, absolutely. So this project really kind of came from the passion for engagement. We wanted to create something where people could engage with their community on a deeper level through something that was interactive. And so what we're looking at here, it's called Stream of Consciousness. And we asked people to write on little pieces of paper their favorite place and how it makes them feel. And once they're done with that, they put it in a little ball, send it through these tubes, and on the other side, they get somebody else's. So through this, we're hoping that people can connect a little bit more empathetically with a stranger and think a little bit more intently about their city and what it means to be a resident here. Anything else you'd like to say about your experience today? It's been a really cool project. We're actually from Portland, so all of this fit in my little Volvo. We wanted it to be modular, cost-effective, and also reusable. So everything's recyclable, yeah.
So cool. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. We're happy to be here.
Hi, thank you so much for being part of the Seattle Design Festival this year. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
I'm Alan Canoe. I'm the director for the Washington Assistive Technology Act program, and I also sit on the Northwest Universal Design Council.
Awesome. I see a lot of cool interactive displays here in your booth. Can you show us around and take us on a tour? And
yeah. So this is what we've designed as a game to help people think about universal design, and the way the game works is I'll come up here first. So we have these large die, and so what happens is somebody who wants to play the game will roll the die, and then whatever number this is, they will be working around one of these individuals. So we got a 1. So in this case it's Terrence. And so Terrence is a 19-year-old college student at Seattle University. He keeps busy between schoolwork and his part-time job. He's active social calendar. He has been blind since birth, uses a cane and a service dog. Wheelchairs having a low bulletin board means that it's more usable for more people. That's the whole idea behind universal design, is features that allow people, as many people as possible, of any ability or physical characteristic to use the space. So that's the idea, for people to think about it in built spaces and how universal design should work. So absolutely, that's our exhibit.
What got you interested in this work?
So I'm the director for the Washington Assistive Technology Act program, and I'm also a person with dyslexia, and technology is really important for me to be able to not only do my job, but also in the world, navigating the world. I have a difficult time reading signs. I can use my iPhone, which is my most trusty piece of assistive technology. I can take pictures of signs, and I can have those signs read out loud to me. I can also take pictures of text and import them to other things, have them read out loud, manipulate them for various purposes. So yeah, so assistive technology is important for me, and universal design makes the use of assistive technology possible.
Is there a piece of technology that you know of that's being developed or designed that you're really excited about right now?
I can show you some.
Yeah? This way?
Yeah, we're gonna go to transit.
Cool.
So this is a tactile map of the design festival, and there's 2 versions of it. So what this is these are used a number of different places, but they allow somebody who is blind or low vision to get some orientation to themselves in the world around them. And what this does is it has different representations for things like walkways. So the walkways are all raised on here. For water, there's a texture for water. The buildings are also raised, and then there's indications for where it's what's north. We have an indication of where this booth is. So there's this very raised, pointed point. So oftentimes these are coupled with braille labels. So like the buildings may either have a braille label, what it is, or it'll have a number, and then there'll be a legend in braille, so that people will know what the various buildings are. But this is something that where you may see applications in transit centers, either someplace that they can actually go up and touch, or sometimes they'll hand out portable maps like this. I've seen them in national parks where they'll have, like, for example, I was at Devil's Tower and they had a replica of the tower that you could go up and touch, and then there was a tactile map built around it, so you can get more idea what the surrounding area was like, and they had labels and everything. So museums, using tactile feedback can help describe things like artwork. So I've seen three-dimensional representations of like Van Gogh's art, and so people can go up and touch it. They get an idea of what that feels like. So
without the police coming.
Without the police coming, exactly. The use of tactile features has a lot of implications and applications, and it's just exciting to see this coming out. These were 3D printed, but they can also be embossed on really heavy duty paper, and something that's just up and coming, more and more uses for this sort of work as it's becoming less expensive and more accessible for people.
My name's Johnny. I'm at the University of Washington.
My name is Felipe Cruz from the University of Washington as well.
And this is our exhibit. It's called Rematerial Restructure. It uses all recycled materials. These wood members are actually from an old installation here at the Seattle Design Festival, I think about 6 or 7 years ago. All these shingles, string, it's all recycled. But yeah, we started out with this this main structural system and kind of filled it in from there.
One of like our main ideas were trying to say like what if we created like a different kind of structure, a pavilion that's created with using recyclable materials, and we wanted to create this way of making this geodesic form and to like a almost like a house in a sense. What I saw first was like a abstract form of a house where you got the shingles above and then like the weaving on the sides with the panels are representing a home, and then you got the floor, and then for me like the swing itself represents almost like the heart of the place where people have fun and enjoying, like almost like a park itself.
I guess we kind of took a lot of cues from nature as well. The whole thing is kind of made of straight lines, sort of rigid forms. Just like in nature, kind of at the cellular level, it's all like the same sort of building block, but then once you kind of zoom out a bit, it can create these cool organic forms. So all these strings, they're all just straight lines, but it kind of creates an effect of it being, rounded and sort of like this wave effect when we tie it all together.
What was the idea of putting the swing in the middle?
It was a very late addition. I think Tuesday is when we decided to put it in there. We just kind of, you look up at the center and it looks kind of cool. And so we were like, what if we had something in the middle? We initially had an idea for a bench. But we were like, that's kind of boring. We want people to actually spend some time in here and, have some fun.
We're planning most likely to use these shingles for other projects since we're from the University of Washington, so maybe they will be using for different projects itself. Same with the members or just in general as well. For next year, if we do design for the Seattle Design Festival or the upcoming years if we do, we'll be using the same materials as well.
My name is Lara, and we're all actually Bellevue College interior design students. So yeah.
I'm Delaney.
And I'm Sam. Hi.
And our installation is about third places. So we were really asking ourselves, what if Seattle cultivated vibrant social ecosystems by increasing accessibility to third places? Lara, do you want to speak some more on that?
Yeah, so the kind of idea for the installation itself was creating those spaces and then also having a space for people to engage and also reflect on their own. So we kind of noticed as we stepped out of the installation, a lot of people would come and gather and discuss their third places and everything. So that was really what we were hoping, was to start conversation and create a space for that.
And a lot of people are asking about the accessibility aspect of it. So in a lot of third places that we've even seen people writing about, sometimes you have to purchase. So if there's any income disparity, sometimes it can be hard for people to find third places to hang out in. So just kind of figuring out what are some good ideas for other third spaces. So there's a really great book about third places, and one of the examples is someone opened up their garage in their home to become sort of like a community bar for the neighborhood. So people come in and donate whatever beverages and just come hang out on a Wednesday. So a lot of that community space is building community, which sometimes we miss out on. So that's what we wanted to focus on as well.
So to start off, we have this chandelier in the middle so that everyone can post their third places, and also people can sit on the benches and look at others' ideas of third places. So we just used some mulberry paper and we weatherproofed it by laminating it, also to be able to reuse it. Again, because we're incorporating biophilic design, so sustainability is an aspect of that. Also, in terms of the moss, we wanted to incorporate greenery and the wood of the benches. That's also an aspect of biophilic design.
Yeah, and to walk you through, so our design concept was reflection. So we started with the mirror so that you could look at yourself and kind of reflect inside of you what you think third places are and how you spend your time with community. And then when you come into the actual reflection space, you can sit and think and kind of be away from any distractions to really think. And then it's beautiful for people to come in here to look at everyone else's ideas as well. So that kind of drove our project, was reflection, and that's why all the other choices reflect that.
I think another element of our design, again, what I kind of said earlier, was creating that space for people to feel like they're part of community. And this really did, even with the selection of 3 benches, having an open space that lets people come in and engage was really just the idea. And just having a welcoming and cozy feel also. A lot of people have really enjoyed the coziness of it. Our material choice as well, we did have a rendering with kind of this net look to the exterior, and it's pretty open and has a lot of texture and movement and everything, but it's still an enclosed comfortable environment.
So our what if is what if Seattle cultivated vibrant social ecosystems by increasing accessibility to third places? So really the core of our question was, what if Seattle increased accessibility to third places? So we were really taking the what if as a question of community building in Seattle, as well as accessibility.
And it's been really fun to see that actually coming to life with the festival, like not only our installation, but everyone else's, just to see how the community has really showed up to look at art and interior design and architecture, to just really embrace that. So I think a third place has definitely been built here, which is amazing to see.
I want my station. Yeah, they had the east side on this map. Transit. Yeah.
My name is Sam Keller. I work at Seattle Public Utilities, and this is Raindrop Run, which is our installation helping the public understand how we slow down stormwater, so rain and snow, in our very urban environments full of lots of pavement and things that water moves really fast off of, and we talk about how to slow that down. And to talk about that, people build marble runs, and the goal is to make the slowest marble run possible.
This might be a silly question, but why is it important to slow down stormwater?
Yeah, it's important to slow down stormwater because when we do that, we have an opportunity for water to be cleaned naturally or through processes that we actually put in place to clean stormwater. It also prevents flooding. So lots of times flooding is just caused by too much water too fast. And so when we can slow down stormwater, flooding is less likely to happen.
And I know this year's theme is what if, so how does this installation kind of respond to that question?
Sure. So what if was such a great theme for us because we are in the middle of planning for 50 years in the future. So we're talking about 2075 right now, and our question is, what if we managed stormwater well? What if we did that? What would our community look like? And how would we have less flooding? And how would we be more responsive and act more like nature? And this is part of thinking about solutions that do that in the future.
And what are some of the challenges that you guys have been coming up against for 50 years?
Yeah, so challenges, we have an older drainage and wastewater system. Our system was built about 100 years ago, so while we've been replacing parts of it, it's also old. It also was built 100 years ago, which means Seattle was slightly smaller then, as we all know, and climate change wasn't a thing. And so now we're contending with all these challenges, trying to figure out not only how to replace a system that's aging, but also enhance a system where the population is growing and climate change is really affecting how much and how heavily it rains.
And you told me a little bit about this, but can you talk a little bit about how these marble runs work?
Yeah, so the marble runs are made up of all these different types of tools, and what we have folks do is place the tools in the marble run, so that they can try to slow the marble down as much as possible. And the pieces are actually designed to slow them down and look like the tool that we're talking about. So when we talk about a rain cistern, there's actually a little house with a cistern next to it, and the marble goes into the cistern and kind of pauses there and then moves on, which is essentially what you do when you fill a cistern with stormwater. Is it's waiting there until you use it to water your garden or anything like that, until you actually use or release the water. It acts as a holding tank. And so that's what it does in the marble run. And so kids and adults alike have been building marble runs and trying to make them as slow as possible.